Hey, welcome to Unfiltered and Intentional. Thank you for tuning in today, tomorrow, yesterday, so forth and so on. Whenever you talk, um, I just wanted to say, Ty, Specs, we still love you. We miss you. Yay, 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 yay. Um, can you drop some knowledge for us, Liz, please?
Filtered and intentional community. So as always, we're asking you to please like, subscribe, and share. We love the comments. Keep them coming in. You can always check out our Facebook group as well. And we really appreciate the support. Mwah.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Quick question before I continue. Do you see me coming in as delayed, or do you see me?
You're a little fuzzy, but you're not delayed.
That technology, and that's the thing that messes us up sometimes, is when you're live and the technology is going. I'm gonna
Right.
blame my internet on my husband. So if you're watching, you
Oh
need
man.
to pass the speed because for some strange reason it's buffering on my side. So anywho,
Don't blame him for the whole internet, Kia.
yeah, I'm blaming the whole internet. So today's topics, we're gonna just hit up some different types of commentary about all the different things that have been touching us on social media, on our phones, on the news. And before I do that, I do definitely want to put out there that today is, well, actually the month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yeah.
I don't want to forget that. That's a big thing. So I know it affects people personally, friends, family, so it's something to definitely wear your pink and pride and show support, save the tatas, as we normally would say. But no, we'll talk about it a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Liz? Yeah. So jumping into some stuff. Social media scandal. I just happened to be out of state for this weekend, and I was hearing a lot of different buzz prior to me leaving, and actually while I was gone. So social media was kind of shut down at some time, right?
Yeah, about 6 hours. Yeah.
People didn't know what to do. They lost their minds. Oh, we were actually forced to meet each other in person and speak. We were actually forced to make our own art and our own filters, and to go outside and smell the fresh air. Did you survive, Liz? How did that work out?
I survived, but I was built for it. So anybody that knows me knows that the hardest place to find me is on social media. So those 6 hours, I was the happiest person in the world because other people joined me in the actual world. So that was nice.
Okay. Now, I heard it wasn't just Facebook. It was Instagram, Facebook. What else?
WhatsApp. That was the only one that sort of affected me. For a moment, I was looking at my phone. Is it not working? What's going on with my phone?
So you guys may have thought to yourself that it was just buffering, like, hey, what's going on here? But so supposedly a whistleblower comes out and it's kind of like, hey, I got all the secrets against Mark Zuckerberg. And then all of a sudden the next day, everything just goes kapow. And that's for all you conspiracy theorists out there. Yeah. So with that being said, so Facebook is facing a huge scandal. A whistleblower, former employee, comes forward to expose the company's secrets. Testifying in front of Congress, deceived the public. Basically, she's testifying in front of Congress about Facebook and how they deceived the public and its investors about its ability to deal with hate speech and misinformation platforms. So they kind of already had something going on where they're like, hey, the more people click on these buttons, and it's angry, it fuels more algorithms to show you more stuff. And then now you get in that combative state, and I'm over here typing. You ever see those Facebook thugs and they get to typing? Like, I wish I'll see you in these streets.
To me. Okay, Facebook thugs. I'm with it.
Yeah. So with that being said, and that was one of the scandals, because then you had Instagram targeting young tweens because they wanted to kind of keep pumping more and more, images of body images and you should look like this. So let's just start off with the whistleblower. Do you think that this is going to be something that's going to break, Facebook, or what? How do you feel about it, Liz?
Not going to break Facebook. Facebook is the devil that we've all decided to accept, or a lot of people have decided to accept. Mm-hmm. And if not Facebook, then Instagram. And if not Instagram, then Twitter. And all of them, to me, are the same basket that's taking us to hell. So, yeah. And I think the whistleblower thing ties directly into how it's harming our children. As in particular, young women, because that's what we needed, was another issue to have to fight and deal with in our lives. But I'm so sorry if you guys can hear my dog. I'm going to quiet him in just a moment. But yeah, I think the more we know about it, the better off we'll be. Back in the day, they used to say Coke was the thing that amplified the worst in you. And nowadays, you don't have to be addicted to any actual drug because our screens are the problem. So that's...
I mean, it's something that's embedded now into our society. Social media is quick, fast access. If you want to get a hold of Uncle Bobby and the pictures at the barbecue, if you wanted to get the quickest updates, you can go ahead and just type in whatever you want to see, and it's right there. WhatsApp, I don't hardly use it once in a blue moon. I mean, I have a regular phone, so why would I need some other app to text messages and send pictures? But it's just something else. And I know some people, not naming any names, some people use maybe for work purposes, if you don't want to give out, your phone number to a group of people, at the job. But we became very, very dependent on social media. And I think that the government within itself got this social media platform so big with no rules. I mean, they're watching everything that we do, our algorithms. Right now, if you're tuning in on YouTube or on Facebook, if you clicking the like button, you'll start seeing more and more things that are very similar. You ever talk about something where you want to go eat or shop, and then as soon as you hang up the computer,
into your phone quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Yeah, let's go ahead and look at some of these comments that are kind of flying in right now. Give me 1 second. So here we go. Wait, did I show it? Okay. Oh yeah. So you got it.
Z said, "Good evening. Good evening, Z." So Humble Lion, hey y'all.
Hey.
This Cash Money says hello.
Hey, and the internet sucks. Oh, sorry.
So Z says it was all of Facebook's products and apps. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes, it was.
Thank you for that.
And so Toya says, "Great evening, Queens." Oh,
yeah.
So it was a fake whistleblower. Okay, Humble Lion, always with me.
Yes, we're gonna get with you, Humble Lion.
So what?
You got it? No, you got it? The comment?
Oh, no, I didn't hear your last comment, but it's okay. We'll come back to it. So Linda said the whistleblower became the person who was watching the people, who were watching the people. Kudos to her. She brought to light the bad part of social media that I feel some people overlook.
Okay. You know what's interesting about that? Let me pull this comment back up.
Okay.
So I was very surprised she showed her face. She's becoming the name. I think this is going to be something where we're going to hear more and more about her. She may even be the front runner for other people coming out and wanting to say, hey, this is what's going on. But my question for the audience out there, even for you, Liz, do you think this is going to be enough? I mean, they've gotten so big. They said that Mark lost $7 billion in that short window span of Facebook and WhatsApp and those products being down. Yeah. $7 billion. And for us, it's like, wow. But for him, he makes 122 million? No, not million, billion. He's worth 122 billion. I mean, so for him, that's kind of like a drop in the bucket. But I mean,
right.
Do you feel that social media needs regulation? That's a good question for you guys out there. Does social media need regulation?
So hell yeah. Great. But you know what? Social media needs regulation, but you know what? We need some self-control. Like, let's call it what it is, right? So it's funny because I brought up the Coke thing earlier, and I didn't even necessarily mean to tie it back around per se, but it came back around. I was watching another documentary on Netflix, which is a whole bunch of whistleblowers talking about all the nastiness that has to do with social media and how it plays on our brains, and the fact that they're using math and psychology on steroids to kind of really come at us. There's only 2 industries in the entire world that refer to its customers as users. Think about it, right? It's drugs and social media. The people using social media are users. Everybody else, your customers, your patients, your clients, your anything else, right? But social media, your users. And the point is to have you addicted and to have it be a drug, right? And so, yes, of course, they need some regulation. But honest to God, where did our self-control go? And where did our parenting go?
But that's the thing, guys, and that's the thing that's the great conversation piece at that is, yes, they need regulation, but I think even for everything that we do, it's that borderline. And we are going to talk about David Chappelle. We're going to talk about David Chappelle, but there's that border. It's that border on what is too much and what is what, and who gets to say. Because right now, if you said social media is a platform used to look at pictures of your long lost granny, that's great. And social media has its great benefits, like, oh my God, I found my so-and-so friend from, 5th grade. And, and we grew up without social media. So a lot of people we forgot and we don't know, whatever. So on those aspects, yes, for marketing purposes, if you are a business, it's great, right? We talked about that. But on the same level, though, like the whistleblower was saying, and you need to explain a little bit more, Humble Line, when you say the fake whistleblower. You need to explain that one a little bit more. And the reason why I say that is because here she is exposing, like, hey, they knew that when you put these fake information out there, something to get the crowd riled up. If I went out there and was like, yeah, all Latin women are this, they'd be like, what? They get angry and they start clicking away and stuff. I mean, they knew what they was doing. If you could go ahead and explain what you mean by fake whistleblower, are you saying that Mark put a mole in there? Because he's always with the conspiracy. So I'm definitely curious.
Yes, I'm curious too. So Z says, absolutely not. This isn't going to be enough. Most senators don't even know how social media works. They don't.
That is true. That is true as well.
The old guys that have been there for 3-4 decades, that should no longer be there, but that's a whole different show. They weren't using social media to get in positions of power, and at this point, the power has surpassed them because the power is with social media.
But isn't that the crux of capitalism? Meaning that you are a business, right? And you start off, you make shirts, right? And you're doing these great things and everybody's yay. And who's to stop you from how big you grow? Who's to stop you now in reference to what you put on your shirt? I mean, don't you think that's, once again, we've had that conversation. Are we truly in that free society? Because now I'm giving you that regulatory, like, hey, you can't say this, but you could do this, but you could do that.
It's not about stopping how much you grow. It's about what's best for society. Right. So, if my shirts all said, F America, F society, and I want to kill myself or join me in killing myself, there would be regulations to stop that. That sounds crazy. How is that a benefit to society or to the country? Right. So they do regulate things that are harmful to our society or to us as citizens. Social media is harmful to our society and to us as citizens. A couple weeks ago, I don't know if you guys caught the trend that was the challenge that was on TikTok, where they had these kids, vandalizing school property. And
like toilet bowls or something.
How is this a thing? Why is this okay? Right. And then to me, this should be a lawsuit for TikTok. I mean, it should be, right? Because they're creating a platform that's encouraging these children to get basically juvenile records, to vandalize mostly government property, because most schools are public schools, right? And everything else. How is that not a thing? And they said, listen, we can't control what your kids do. No, but if I was the person that I took a field trip of 5th graders to the top of a bridge and I stood back and I said, hey guys, jump. Would I be responsible for those kids jumping? Did I make them jump? Did I push them? Like, I mean, to me, that's what TikTok did when they said, we're not in control of what your kids do. But I mean, the field trip in this case is the vessel, the vehicle. You know, they're on a school bus with me. I'm the adult that's overseeing what they're doing, and I'm encouraging them to jump off the bridge. I mean, who would be responsible for that? Could anybody really say, well, you know, that's the parents' fault that the kids jumped?
So I'm hearing you say that social media is too big. I'm assuming that the audience is saying that social media is too big, but at the end of the day, I guess, like I said, who gets to dictate that balance? Because right now, if you're testifying under, you know, in front of Congress and saying, hey, this is what's going on, whatever, and they start putting regulations on you, then now we're looking at who's making the regulations. You know, is it a bunch of Republicans making the regulations? Is it a bunch of Democrats making? Are we too liberal with it? Are we too that? I mean, that's where those scales have to be weighed. And I think we're past that line. I honestly think social media has gotten to that point where they can't per se be regulated in the sense that we're used to. You know, when you go to a business, there's these guidelines and there's these rules. But I think that since we've like I said, he's worth $122 billion. And at this moment, he's still growing in profit. Let's go to some of the other. Let me see.
So, Humble Lion said, no real whistleblower would go to 60 Minutes. Come on, really? So, okay.
Unless he was offered some money, maybe.
Well, where would you go? I mean, to be fair, where would you go? So, there's that, right? All right. So, Humble Lion says it was a plant to fake expose themselves to bring more censorship, period.
Okay. But once again, that conspiracy, well, and like I said, it does sound something, because here's the thing. So the woman comes out and she's like, hey, this and this took place. And then the next day, social media goes down. And then they're saying, now I don't know, supposedly some of the documentation that they were going to bring up and search for is missing now. And that's where that conspiracy part kind of goes into.
So Z says, Chuck Grassley, that the old bastard, he's been there since the start of the country, not the whole country.
Basically, that old ass need to go.
So Nero said, good evening, all. Good evening, Nero. So got David saying we need to regulate our minds, right? There's some self-control that we need here.
Yeah.
So Z said, okay, here we go, dropping that knowledge. The reason that TikTok can't be held liable is because of Section 230 of DCA.
I'm gonna have to look that up. Thank you now. Thank you now.
So, Nero said it's a social media, and it's a societal issue. Let's not make it about politics like we do with everything else. I'm going to agree with that. I am. It's not about are the Democrats going to regulate or the Republicans going to regulate. Can we get some parents in the room, especially since the parents are the ones paying for it?
But here's the thing about that, though. As much as I'm saying, much as you just say, hey, let's get some aunties and some parents in the room and all this, and that makes sense, and we're giving each other high fives on that, it does become political. When you have that much money is going to become political because we want to see how it could gain our point, you know?
Well, here's the thing with that, though, right? Is funny enough, the reason everything becomes political is, get this, social media. So it's this never ending, it's the chicken and the egg type of thing, because funny enough, before social media, we voted every few months, every few years, depending on how religious you were about it, right? But it was not an everyday issue. It became an everyday issue when everybody got a microphone and a platform. Now, all of a sudden, it's never. Think about it. There's a direct line between where we were, where politics was not a part of our everyday conversation. Right? We knew who the president was. We knew who the vice president was. We knew who the key people were. You know, you might have known your local representative if you were, you know, that engaged. But for the most part, we didn't talk about it every day. We didn't talk about everything in terms of red and blue. We spoke about everything in terms of red, white, and blue, right? That's not a thing anymore. You know, and I know that you said, is it too big? It's not that it's too big. It's that it's too toxic. Right? So it's not about, is it too big to regulate? Is it too toxic?
Well, somebody came on the comments and they said something about, oh, David, he said regulating the mind. And at the end of the day, you know, definitely for our age group, like I said, we didn't grow up with social media. I think Taraji P. Henson came on. I think it was one of the news shows, and she was like, I was fine. Like, oh yeah, social media ain't good. Let me go about my business, you know, because especially for her field, she's always acting and doing different things. So she's on social media, but now it's not working. I have more time in my day to go about my business. I mean, if social media went down tomorrow, a lot of us, you know, at least 35 and older would be able to survive and keep it moving. But at the end of the day, you know, it is something that we, you know, it's a part of us, and it makes you, it breaks you. It's unfortunate because it's tailored, and that's what we were talking about for Instagram in reference to those young individuals. How can they taint a certain image so that the young kids will get affected by it? And that's so unfortunate, because I remember, you know, my daughter, you know, looking at social media, and you're like, oh, I wish I could look like this, or I wish I did this, and I wish they had these memes, and it's like, and the day I die, everyone will feel my pain. It's like 30,000 clicks. Like, why are we talking about the day you die? Like, you know, it's just really crazy how everything's set up. Here's some more comments. They're just kind of flying in.
Right.
Give me 1 second. I don't want to miss any. Did we get this? Let me know if I'm hitting it again. Okay.
That is Section 230 of the DCA. And then I can see here that he chimed back in. The DCA is the Decency Communications Act of 1996.
Yes.
Thank you for that, Z. I'm going to read up on that a little bit more.
yes. Thank you.
So we read that one, Kia.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And so Nero said it starts at home. Exactly.
It does. But when you say that it starts at home, and you look at what's going on in America or in the world, you're like, well, what the fuck is going on at home?
You know what? So okay, let's I'll circle back to that. So Nero, politicians want to use the platform for personal gain. As you said, once you become powerful, too much money and worth. Powerful people will take note, bringing the point around Bill Gates.
Oh God, yeah.
So Humble Lion said it's their way to censor anyone that disagrees with them.
Ooh, segue. Ooh, this is those little lines right there. Little bing, those bells or something like that, especially when Humble Lion. And the reason why I said it's a great segue is because, you know, we have some people call him the GOAT, the greatest of all time. To do it, David Chappelle. And before the incident in question came up, we've all heard of him. He had his own show. He's done many movies. And I've never heard per se people say they just didn't like his comedy, just in a general sense. You know, forget about LGBTQ and all that other stuff, but just in a general sense, you're like, oh yeah, he's funny or whatever. But you know, he's a professional. He's been around the game for many years. And he has a comedy special on Netflix. He had to do 3. He signed a contract with them. He had to do 3. So this one here would be his last one. And I seen the special. So I heard the comments first that he was talking bad about the trans community. And a lot of people were saying, you know what? This is another form of cancel culture. I've heard people say we need to cancel him. I've heard people say that their one trans woman left Netflix because she was like, you know what? I can't even be a part of this. And I was like, man, this is some crazy stuff here. Let's see. What did he say that was that bad? You know, because I've actually been to a lot of comedy shows where, you know, like Eddie Griffin. I went to one of his comedy shows, and when I tell you he did like a whole skit on white people for about 40 minutes, and he was cracker. And I felt bad. Like, I literally felt like, oh my God, like he is going in and this is just overload. You crack one race joke, you crack 2 race joke, ha. And then he talks about blacks, then he talks about Asians. But 40 minutes straight, nothing about, you know, just all types of derogatory stuff he was saying. And I felt bad. Like, I'm black and I felt uncomfortable for white people. So I had to hear what David Chappelle was saying. I had to turn it on. Plus, I did overall just like his comedy. So before we get into what he actually said, I want to ask everybody. I thought, well, in my opinion, I thought that comedy was the last profession where we can kind of be free. We can they can say what we can't say. They can ask the questions that we cannot ask. They can do certain things because they are comedians. And I thought that was a safe playground. Comedians talk about everything: white, black, red, brown, shit, fat, gay, whatever the topic is.
Yes, ugly.
If we're all so sensitive, will comedians even have another job? Do they have to change their field? Because right now we're all going to get on anybody for talking about the LGBTQ community, or, oh, you're talking about white people. We can say, hey, why are you talking about men? All this men bashing, right? Why are you talking about women? Misogynistic. What are you talking about this? Oh, you call me a fat ass. When does it stop? When does it stop? That's my very first question.
So first of all, it does not stop anymore. This won't be popular. I already know it won't be popular, right? But could you just imagine if we were counting on today's people with today's sensitivities and everything else to get us out of, slavery?
Oh my God.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine if we were counting on today's, and I'm not just talking about the kids. I mean, it's like middle-aged women. It's everybody.
Everybody's so sensitive.
What was it with Cuomo? One lady came out and said, he touched my elbow. He touched my elbow, and I almost fainted. And I'm going, probably because you were in love. Like, that sounds crazy. And just imagine if these were the women, if these were the black people, if these were the gay people, today's generation of what we're dealing with, if these were the people that had to bring us to this point, would we be at this point? They're way too weak. They're way too sensitive. They're asking for way too much from society. Honest to God. And listen, there are some things that are offensive, and we have to understand that some shit's just offensive. You know what I mean? But we're at a point now where a comedian can't do comedy because all comedy is offensive. What could you think of in your mind at home right now? I'll challenge the audience, right? Put something up there that is not going to offend somebody that's funny. Anything.
But that's the thing. And you know what? I've seen so many different the news networks going in about, because there's a lot of the news networks, the actual anchors happen to be a part of that community. And they were offended, and they said, this has to be stopped. And they brought on, other people to talk about their viewpoints. And they said, the misrepresentation of African-American trans is just crazy. And like I said, we're going to get into that in a second, but just in a general sense, like you said, everybody could get offended. What's next? If somebody says, hey, they're going in too much talking about, black people. Oh my God, you were racist. Da, 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 da. You talk about white people. Oh, like everybody, and nobody has a backbone anymore. And I don't mean to sound bad, but it's true. Like, nobody can take a ding. Nobody wants to be talked about. So what the fuck are we laughing about then? Like, that's the question. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so you go to see a comic to do what?
I got a comment that's not in the comment section. But I guess I threw out a challenge to the audience. Find me comedy that's not offensive. And they said comedy from Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby is offensive.
Wait, stop. Who said, okay, stop. Stop. Now that okay. So that's like me saying, that's like me saying, name somebody who wrote good love songs, and you talking about, well, R. Kelly. We're not talking about pervert. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, no, you can't say, well, Bill Cosby had comedy that was non-offensive. The fucking comedian himself was offensive.
He was offensive.
Conversations about Bill Cosby, right?
Yeah,
So even if you say, wait, those women were lying, you know, whatever the case where you view, he said, hey, at that time frame, that's how we party. So regardless if it was a consensual thing, regardless if he got locked up or not, he was into that whole, you know, like, hey, let me relax your mind. You know what I'm saying? Let me do some things.
And actually, let me take this up a notch. Hold on, right? So let's just park the car at Bill Cosby for just a second, right? By the way, I love the Comedy Club. It's my favorite date night. Anybody that knows me knows that, right? And my favorite stand-up ever, incidentally, I'm not ashamed to say it, is there's this one special. If you haven't seen it, I know, I'm not popular, but watch it. Bill Cosby himself. Shit's hilarious. And he doesn't cuss once the whole time. It's hilarious. You die laughing from beginning to end. Now, let me point out the offensive things. He talks about people on drugs. Anybody that has a problem with addiction or knows somebody in their family with addiction would be hurt by. He was talking about it like it's funny. Addiction is not funny, but that shit was hilarious. You know what I mean? He was talking about how he got to treat his kids and he gave them chocolate cake for breakfast and this whole thing or whatever the case is. Single mothers everywhere are like, and here's a man that has fun with the kids on the weekend and he wants all the credit for being the favorite parent, right? And that would be offensive to single mothers anywhere, right? So yes, comedy, if you really want to look at it from an I'm offended point of view, it can all be offensive.
That's what I'm talking about. As somebody, like right now, you say he talked about people being on drugs. Well, guess what? My father was an addict. Who the fuck is laughing?
Yo.
So we can go there. You know what I'm saying?
Hilarious. You know, it was, right? Robin Williams is my second favorite stand-up ever with his weapons of self-destruction. That was priceless. I mean, he was going in on all kinds of issues.
But comedians, so you have different types of comedians. You have your slapstick, you have the ones who joan on people, this, that, and the third. I mean, you get to pick and choose. You don't have to turn on the TV show. You don't have to go sit and pay your money. You don't have to do these things. I mean, Seinfeld is comedian. I don't like his stand-up, but I like the TV show. Right. I like when he's around other people that feed off his energy and go from there. At the end of the day, everybody has a different type of genre. There's some people who don't like cursing in their comic stands and their reviews. Well, guess what? Then go to a Christian comedy club, you know? And then there's so many different things that you can choose from. But once again, though, somebody's going to say something. So let's go to these comments real quick.
Right. So let's see. It's their way to censor anyone that disagrees with them. Absolutely. Then you've got, how do you regulate or censor the internet relative to TV network broadcast? With the internet, the walls and barriers are down. We are a flat world now. I read the next comment put out. Humble Lion said, political correctness is killing comedy. It's killing society. It really is. It's just killing.
Oh my God.
It is. It's ruining everything.
It's terrible, Humble Lion.
Nero said, it's always safe until it isn't. This is true. And so Nero says, sensitivity is relative to your audience, political affiliations, geographical location, culture, initiated versus uninitiated, etc. And the list goes on.
But that's so true. So with that being said, you pick and choose what you want to watch, what you want to listen to, what you want to do. Here's the thing. I mean, I couldn't even believe that somebody said that they wanted to shut David Chappelle down. And we're going to go into that as soon as we get to these comments real quick.
I can believe that, but okay. So the Lion said, comedians have been pushing buttons and telling controversial jokes forever. If you don't like it, don't watch it. That's what Kia said. Enough of this. I'm offended, so this needs to be pulled or canceled. Don't effing watch. Right? So Nero said, LOL, y'all need to stop. And so Linda said, the pendulum has swung. I feel there will never be a happy medium. And Popcorn Passport, hi, haven't seen you in a while. So Bill Cosby himself, LOL, too funny. He is a funny dude.
But here's the thing. He is a funny dude. R. Kelly is a great artist. I mean, the music, I mean, and no matter what you want to do in reference to the music, he is hand down a genius. But the person himself is like, whoa, kind of sketchy. With that being said, in the comedy, if you haven't seen the comedy on Netflix, it's still there. A couple of key facts. For now, a couple of key facts. Before a show is actually aired, the producers, the directors, all those people get to say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and put it on there. So it wasn't a thing that the show was made and it's voila, surprise. This is what we have, and now you're trying to censor it. No, Netflix already knew what was going on. During the show, he mentions a statement about DaBaby. DaBaby is a rapper, a famous rapper of this generation, and he was performing in a concert in Florida. And during one of his sets, he went on a tangent about the AIDS and the LGBT community and just different things, misinformed information. So a lot of people were like, there was two things. So as you may know, or you may not know, they shut him down. Concerts, he got pulled, advertising sponsors, everything. I mean, now he's just doing local nightclubs compared to world arenas, with the Megan Stallion and the whole nine. And people started disassociating himself. But there were a few say, you know what, we're going to stand by this man. And the reason why they decided to stand by him is because they said, well, wait a second, as big as this man is, where was his people to let him know that there's certain things that you just cannot do anymore? If you know, or if you guys in the audience follow hip hop, rap music, you know that the whole industry with itself can be offensive. The whole industry itself can be offensive to someone, meaning you will be talking about somebody's crackhead mama or daddy, meaning you're talking about this bitch woman, this hoe, this slut, whatever, calling her out of her name. You're talking about this guy, he's a punk, he's a this, he's a this. There was a huge time in the Black community that we did talk very, very bad about the LGBTQ community, especially if you were from the islands.
Ooh, forget reggae.
Yeah. They talk about murder, they're doing everything, but times have evolved, right? You may have family members who are part of a different community and you're embracing them and we're changing our lyrics. But let's put that to the side. In rap music and in the culture, they talk about giving women Mickeys, right? And taking advantage of women and just doing different
things. Talk about doing it to the men too. Just saying.
Oh, that's true.
Just saying.
She comes out and talks about it. I mean, so at the end of the day, that whole culture within itself has a lot of things that would offend the individual. But in the Netflix special, David Chappelle talks about DaBaby, and he basically says that DaBaby killed somebody, which is true. If you fact check that, in Walmart, he shoots a Black man. He was still performing music after that. He became a multi-million-dollar rapper after that, on big platforms such as Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. But he gets on the same stage and talks about the LGBT community, and just like that, he's gone.
Done.
You mean to tell me that this man killed somebody and nobody give a fuck? And I'm sorry, I'm gonna start cursing
out the window.
I'm gonna start cursing, so I'm sorry for anybody who don't like to be cursed, and hear all that. But I just find it mind-boggling that when it comes to certain things, we let it ride.
Right.
But now all of a sudden, the LGBT community has surpassed the civil rights African American struggle.
Everything.
Yes, they have.
Everything.
Yes, they have. And he was just making, in the comedy special, he was making points as to the double standards that we are facing within the struggle, within cancel culture. And there are some people who feel like, yes, David Chappelle should be canceled. And then there's some people who are standing by him. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that. Should we cancel David Chappelle? I personally feel he did an awesome job, but go ahead, Liz.
Okay, wow. So if it's at all possible to be of entirely two minds about something, it's that particular question. I mean, of two absolutely distinct minds about something, right? I watched the special start to finish. I didn't miss a single minute of it. I'll be honest with you. I love the comedy club. I love comedians. I love the art. He's not my brand of comedy. I mean, that doesn't mean I want to cancel. It just means he's not my brand of comedy, right? And to be fair, you talked about hip hop. I love hip hop, but once you start getting into bitch, you lost me. And to be fair, that's the only way that he refers to women on every show that he does, and this one was no exception. So to me, it didn't even have anything to do with the trans community. I literally watched it as homework for the show, right? And so otherwise, he wouldn't have gotten my view because that's my choice, but I wouldn't have canceled him.
Yeah.
That said, should he be canceled? Let me ask you this. If every single time, if we could change Dave Chappelle to a white guy, right? And every time he said the word trans in that show, if he said black in that show, would they be canceled? Would that person be canceled? If you replace the word trans with black, how would we feel about that community? And particularly if he was not of the black community, because Dave Chappelle is not of the trans community, but he is speaking of the trans experience.
I would say this. I would say that when a African American, and I'm sorry guys to make it about race, because I know a lot of times some people who listen to the show like, man, what are you talking about race for? But it's something to be talked about. When we make a cry, a upset, our voices are not heard as strong as the popular ones, the media industry. If I was Don Lemon, if I was on MSNBC, if I'm all these different, anchors, I'm choosing to have these type of topics on my show. I know what we're going to talk about. There's a reason why I'm bringing on the trans lady to talk about how offended she felt and this and this and this. There's a reason why I'm pushing that out there, because if I didn't feel that way, I wouldn't bring her on the goddamn show. I feel that there is a push. Now, granted, I do feel that regardless of what your sexuality is, you should be able to be free, to be loved, not to be worrying about somebody killing you and these different things. But there is a double standard. When African Americans do something, we are portrayed completely different than if another gender, another community does it. And it's very unfortunate. I know that this is a tough one. This is going to be a tough one, because I think that we're at a point at the moment where people are actually trying to stand up for David Chappelle. Like, this is somebody you're not canceling. You're not canceling.
Are we okay? Think about who we're standing up for, right? And listen, again, I don't care for his comedy, but I do like him as a person, generally speaking. I mean, I've heard other things he has to say in other conversation. I have no qualms with the guy, right? But in the same special, it's so bizarre to me because, like you said, whenever it comes to the LGBTQ, the alphabet community, if you would, right? Whenever it comes to them, it's the only thing that we see, we hear anything. On the show, he outright talked about beating the shit out of a woman, and he was proud of it. Since when do men get to talk about beating women up? And we're just like, okay, yeah, sure, that's funny.
Well, here's the kicker. Here's the kicker, though. And that's the thing. And that's why I'm glad you said you heard the show. And I'm glad that people who did hear the show can hear it in the whole context. If I just said, right, if I was a man, I said, yeah, and I beat that bitch down, people are like, what? But when you heard the context of the show, he's basically explaining how he thought that this person was a guy. The woman was not a guy, right? She's challenging him, and he's like, back up, leave me alone, blah, blah, blah. She then swings at him. Now that goes into a whole nother conversation. If a woman swings at a man, does the man swing back, or does he move away, or whatever the case may be? Whatever that happened. But at the end of the day, it wasn't as if he's like, yay, I beat this bitch's ass just to say, hey, I'm beating on women. No, I'm, protecting myself because she took a jab at me. He was like, she got her boxing stance and she threw the 1-2 on him and went from there. I think that many comedians have addressed that type of stuff. Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence. I mean, we can go on and on. But I can say we pick and choose on who we want to persecute. let's go through some of the comments because we're, oh yeah, look at this one here.
So he threw out there Michael Jackson for sure.
Michael Jackson's somebody who has all types of tainted shit going on with him, and we still love his music. We make passes for him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Nero said again, relative to time and place, you are in history. We skipped one from Cash, by the way. I'm going to go back a little bit. Art is meant to push boundaries to make us challenge conventional thought. That's what
we passed one. Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry.
So,
that's the one.
That's exactly what art is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
here we go.
So Nero said, Black people have always been at the bottom of the barrel. We are the most undervalued demographic in every corner of the world.
You better. And I want to throw something on that. Because, you know, we talk about it here. It's not, I don't even just think it's Black people. I think it is African-American people. Like, it's something about African-Americans people just do not like. Like, you African-American.
I'm going to disagree with that, but, you know, we'll take that one up later.
No, I don't know. Like I said, hey,
in every corner of the world. And that's
but yeah, and that is true. But if we had to divide the different types of Blacks, I think that. But
I think the Black people in South Africa would disagree with you. I think the Africans being beat in the street would disagree with you.
I don't know. Well, you know what? We're gonna get to the only thing I want to say about that one is when I think of corporate America, and they say, "Hey, we hired 1,500 Blacks." It's not
a narrow scope.
Yeah, I know.
But like Africans being beat in the street, sanctioned by the government in China. I'm just saying.
But yeah, we all agree. Black people of brown,
every corner of the world, spoken true.
We can agree on that one.
So Cash said, "I agree, Liz. I thought there were other things that were more offensive than what was being discussed in the media."
Yes, that is true. That is very true. And that's the thing that I was just talking about. We pick and choose on what we want to get upset about. And because the LGBT community has grown here, when it comes to Don Lemon and news this and news channels, this, whatever, he's not going to bring on there, hey, how did you feel, women that got battered and got beat and this and this?
Well, how do you feel about being called a bitch like 500 times in 40 minutes? How about that?
There's just so many things we could else say he was more offensive of, but once again, that's subjective, right?
Mm-hmm. So, Humble Lion said, "I'm just going to state the unpopular, the global elite, the religious elite, the Hollywood elite are all run by homosexuals and pedophiles. That is why they have power over everybody, and it will get worse."
I'm just batting eyes on that one, Humble Lion. Well, here's the kicker. So, and the only reason why I'm saying yes and I'm saying no, because I don't have the name for it. You know, you came out with the name, the global elite, the religious elite, the elite. I guess if we want to put a name on it. But there is some type of community out there that's in control and in power. Yeah.
Can I also say something a little unpopular, please? These guys
don't listening.
Don't look for me. Here we go, right?
Uh-oh.
Should I go there, y'all? We're
unfiltered. Come on, we're just talking.
Okay. So when did we start conflating everything as rights and stop acknowledging that some of this is just like mental health? Let me complete the thought. Right? Let me complete the thought, right? Now, it's funny because on the Chappelle special, he mentioned I've always kind of affectionately called gay classic, right? Because if you look at the gay community from the 90s and the gay community today, those are two different things, right? And so two different things, right? And I personally don't have anything. I have no qualms with the entire community. I mean, the whole rainbow. I have no qualms with them, right? But when we got to the point where like gender is no longer a thing, and we don't correct children if they are saying just the outright wrong thing, or isn't that like a mental health issue?
Well, here's the thing, and I have associates and good acquaintances that represent the trans community. And I remember during the show, if you guys haven't seen the special, I would suggest that you go watch the special. But he talks about the woman that created the Harry Potter books, and I think it was TERF is the acronym. But basically, he was saying it is a fact.
Gender is a fact. It's not an opinion.
It is a fact.
You think you are.
But how is that? But my question for anybody who does represent the community, if you are listening at this moment, how is that offensive? I understand it may be something that you don't want to be true, right? You feel in your heart that you're a woman. You feel in your heart that you're a man. Ever since you was 2 years old, this is how you felt. And I totally get it. That's good. You felt that way. Your parents encouraged it. Yay. But we want to talk about the simple fact of, and he said, everybody in this audience came from a woman, right? They came through the birthing canal of a woman.
Of a woman that was, what's the word? Declared woman at birth. What's the word? Assigned woman at birth. Yeah. Everybody born was born of a woman, assigned woman.
Well, why is it? But here's the kicker, and I like I said, I would love for somebody from that community, if they are listening to the show right now, I just would like to ask that question: why is it so offensive, the factual stuff? If you told me right now, like, hey, I used to be Brian, but now I want you to call me Megan, and this is this and this, I would totally respect that, right? You should be called Megan. You should be whatever. You know, you're a human being. Come on, for Pete's sake, let's do this for decency purposes. But my question is for the facts. Why? Like if you came to me like, oh my God, like I was on my period, and I'm like, well, wait, now, you know, like now men do go through their time of the month, right? Mm-hmm. I can expect that. But you and I both know that you don't bleed. So those things. And even right now, me saying that, I feel like, man, did I offend somebody? Like, you know, like.
Did you see how long and hard I had to breathe on it before I could say it? And
no, but I'm.
And you know what? It's terrifying that we can't just have listen, again, I feel for the people that are going. That is not an easy decision.
No, it is not. It's not. It's very hard.
Transition. It's not an easy life to live. It's not. And I do hope it gets better for everybody. Everybody should have just human decency afforded to them. Yeah. That's not my issue. Right? The issue becomes when we've decided that your birth certificate should not read boy or girl. Mm-hmm. Right? When we've decided that you know, if a little boy, it's talking about a 2-year-old or 3-year-old, is like, I'm a girl, that you don't like correct that because somehow that's child abuse. I'll make it a little personal, right? My daughter, when she was, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old, she really truly thought she was a cat, like a kitten, right? And I would come in the house, and do you understand? I had to look for this kid. And where would she be hanging out? Under the dining room table. She'd be like in a closet because she was a cat, right? As a parent, the right thing to do was for me to correct her. You are not a freaking cat. You know what I mean? Now, here's the irony, right? Is if anybody had come to my house and found my kid hanging out in a closet with the door closed, on top of the shoes, just chilling like a cat, and I'm like, oh yeah, she's been in there for hours, they'd have called Child Protective Services on me, right? But if the same little girl had come around and she's like, I'm a boy, they would call Child Protective Services on me now if I didn't go along with that shit. That sounds crazy. If she was a giraffe, would that be okay? I think I'm a millionaire. Like, you know, I think I'm a millionaire if I ran around acting like one.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing right now where I think is just we've opened so many doors. We've keep pushing the envelope. And what I mean is like not pushing the envelope like, hey, I love this person, or hey, I should have these rights, but in reference to just what's fact and what's not. I feel that, and I think, and please pardon me, I know Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union, they have the child, and this child is a teenager now, but they've been in the relationship for a minute, and I guess the mother and the father were promoting the son to you know, to live out his life as a female. And you have a lot of people who are torn by that. Torn because they're saying, hey, this kid is still a kid. And then you have people saying, let this young individual express themselves. And that's a whole nother situation. But I think we even take it to a whole nother level when you have like, hey, my child wants a sex operation change, and I'm going to go ahead and get it because they have to be able to express themselves. I mean, if that's the case, why can't kids vote? Why can't kids drive? Like, if, like, what?
What are we
There's
talking
no
about
boundaries.
anymore?
There's no boundaries anymore. So it's
Question. So imagine this, right? Because remember earlier I was talking about would it be offensive if Dave Chappelle was talking about everything he was talking about instead of trans black, right? Let's do that again. If Kris Jenner had come out, right, and he said that you know what? I've always felt that I was black. I always thought I was a black man. Inside of me, I've never been comfortable as a white person in society. I truly believe I'm black. How would we respond to that?
Well, remember, there were some white people. It's funny you said that there was some white people. The woman from the NAACP, she ended up being in a situation where it's like, hey, you know, I felt like I'm a black woman. But I think in reference to her situation, she even did documentations as she's a black woman, got scholarships and different things off of that. You know, I mean, we can go on and on. I just want to know.
And ostracized and removed from society. She did not win Black Woman of the Year. This person came out and I mean the celebration that they had.
And even in the special, you know, David Chappelle mentions Caitlyn Jenner won Woman of the Year and was only a woman for a year.
I've had it for a long time. I'm never gonna win.
If the premise was going to be like, hey, we want to give it to a trans woman, because like I said, they do struggle. At least, what about the actress? She's a famous black actress, and she played in Orange Is the New Black. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. She's
LaBelle.
Yeah. I mean, she's that one. You know, I mean, she's facing the same struggles, the same scrutiny. Let's get to some of these comments because they're just like
coming in. And so let's see. So regarding the gay community, he was really having a debate which is going on in Black academia already. Should Black women and gays be focused on feminism or LGBTQ issues or Black issues?
Great question, because at the end of the day, it seems like Black is last. Everything else comes before.
So Nero said, I'm going to watch the special tonight. I have not seen it.
Yeah, I would suggest to go watch it, even if you're not a David Chappelle fan, just before they take if they do take the episode off.
Take it down.
Because it does open your mind to like, wow, there's a huge double standard. Because even though he's cracking jokes, he's showing you there's a double standard in society about what's going on here.
Mm-hmm. So Humble Lion said, people came after R. Kelly, but not one word about Hugh Hefner, Elvis, Woody Allen. If there's no statute of limitation, then we need to justify slavery then.
You know, it's so funny.
That was it. I'm sorry.
It's so funny. I was just talking to you earlier about Woody Allen. He's an actor, definitely really big back in the late 70s, 80s. But director. Well, he did some acting too. But with that being said, he had an adopted daughter, raised her, married her when she turned 18. I mean, how sick is that? But you know, no one ever messes with him, and you dare not talk about the Jew community. You say the word Jew, you may not have a job. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So Nero said, yes, we can unpack Blacks and the micro level topics another time. So that is a macro level comment, and I have traveled the world extensively. He was going back to the Blacks in every corner.
I believe you now.
So, Popcorn Passport. I currently identify as a billionaire. Hey, me too. I think my banker and credit score assignee would respect that. Oh, and I was born poor, but I think they should respect my decision to become a rich man overnight.
So funny that you said that. I've actually seen some people just to say, you know what, I identify as whatever, and knowing that you don't, you know, you're not this individual, and they'll get, oh, you're offending me because you're joking, you're taking what I'm going through lightly. At the end of the day, there are some facts, and we can't change the facts. And I don't know why in every facet of society we are rewriting history. I mean, literally, as we speak, someone's trying to rewrite it.
No, not in every aspect, right? It's certain people can rewrite it and certain people cannot.
Thank you once again.
Let's do that.
Thank you for that.
Actually, I'm going to ring the bell. I think that's a segue. We'll finish this one up too. But I think Chappelle was saying it's not easy for us at any point, for any of us at any point, Both sides have to give a little and be a little understanding.
And then the name for that person was
Laverne Cox.
Thank you.
And,
the segue, yes.
The real person was Rachel Dolezal. So Popcorn Passport pointed that out. So ding, 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 ding. Switching over, right? So again, we let certain people take over the narrative and control history. And Sage Steele was in the news this week. So
you sports fans.
There you go. Right. And so I don't know if you guys, most of the guys are gonna know who she is. She's from ESPN and porn. But ESPN, don't ask how I know, Kia. Don't give me that look. But she was in the news this week for a couple of things that she said that were unpopular, right? So, for example, apparently she's of mixed races. She identifies as both black and white. And that bothers a lot of people who look at her and think that she very obviously looks like a black woman. Why would she claim that she is black and white? And she was saying, look, President Obama claims that he's black. And she finds that interesting, given that it's his white mother and white grandmother that raised him, and his black father was not a part of his life at all, but he is only black, giving no credit to the women that raised and loved him and are a credit for who he is. People lost their minds over that because, once again, when you speak facts, if you don't like them, they will shut you down. And she was actually put on leave from the network. Additionally, she said a couple other things, right? She also mentioned that when women dress a certain way, they know they're looking for a certain level of attention. Facts. I mean, no one's looking to be disrespected, but you most certainly are looking for a different level, a different type of attention. Again, may not be popular, but
you see, I'm just going like this.
I see you. And then there was a third thing that she said. It'll come back to me. It'll come back. Give me a little bit. But go ahead.
No, I heard a couple of people saying that she's just kind of planting those seeds because I don't forgot. I heard her mentioning to somebody because somebody did an interview with her and she said she likes Candace Owens. And yeah, so with that being said, it seems like she's kind of setting herself up because when you have people who talk in that type of way, if ESPN lets you go, if Disney Channel lets you go, whatever the case may be, more than likely a Fox News network will pick you up, because you're kind of talking their talk, maybe even offering you a little bit of money. At the end of the day, how did you feel about the comments that she made? Did you agree? Did you not?
So, and the third comment, I just looked it up real quick while you were speaking, was about vaccines and that she's not with it. So that was the third thing. And they took her off the air for a couple of days. I'm pretty sure she'll be back. Whatever. How did I feel about it? So again, maybe it's not the popular opinion here, right? But let's start with the issue of qualifying blackness. Because I know that ever since I was a toe high, not knee high, but toe high, I've always heard that, 1 ounce of 1 drop of black makes you black, right? And if you're not willing to accept that, it's because you hate yourself. That is such a strange philosophy to me. Like I get it, but then I don't. And it's interesting because my mother was of mixed race. And if you asked her, because she never identified as black either, she would say mixed at best, right? Or Hispanic, just because Hispanic is a potpourri. But in actuality, there's not a drop of Spanish blood in us. I'm giving you guys a little bit of who I am. My grandfather is of Jamaican descent. My grandmother was of German descent and Indian, native to Nicaragua, right? So no Spanish at all, but it was just easier to say Hispanic because most people understand that to mean it's a potpourri, a mixture of different things. So my mother never really went with black, and that bothered people. And she, growing up, would say to me, my mother, who had green eyes, never did anything to me. Why would I disown her? So with that said, how could she be black if her mother had green eyes? You know what I mean?
So there's a couple of questions there. Okay. And not just in reference to your mom, but just in a general sense, because there's many people who do not claim any type of African descent. I'm curious to know why, I know that in South America, especially in South America or in the islands itself, there's a lot of colorism. And when you disassociate yourself from African anything, you may gain popular, view. The lighter you are, popular view, the better jobs, the this and this. So I'm wondering, when people don't claim African ancestry, knowing that you my color, I just question it. That's wow. Here's the kicker though. That's a whole section.
That's a whole
That's a whole hour conversation. But let's go ahead to this comment that came in. Wait.
So someone freely commenting said, I wish there was a psychologist on the panel to add input into the behavior and mental anatomy of why and how a human becomes other than their assigned sex, i.e. male or female.
Yeah, you mentioned that too, Liz, in reference to mental health. Because if we had, and not even just having a psychologist on the panel, but if we actually had somebody from that community, I do know that would still be a taboo topic to talk about, the mental health of that person. Dave Chappelle is a controversial commentator. A lot of times he's kind of hanging with the Candace Owens crowd. And he was talking about that if you are saying that you are, even if you went through the cosmetic, but if you were saying that you are a woman, knowing that you were born a male, you are delusional. There is something mentally wrong with you. Not that you haven't changed yourself physically and you've gotten the transitions and this, but I'm talking about what you was born with, the because he was talking about the chromosomes. So right now, once again, you can put the hair on, you can grow the breast, you can do all these things, but the actual, when you were born, that little baby boy, your chromosomes, that X and those O's and all that other good stuff that we learned in school. He said, if you do not believe that, something is mentally wrong. And the transgender women that were on the show threatened to beat his ass. Actually, they were like, don't, and it was like, wow. That's the kicker there, because it kind of gets offensive if you start talking about someone's mental health, right? You have to watch what you say.
But again, though, why is that offensive? Because we're so sensitive. Like, it's not offensive if it is what you are. If you're schizophrenic and I say you're schizophrenic, is that offensive? Or is it a fucking fact? Like, I don't know how else to say that, right? There's nothing offensive about it. There's something going on, right?
Well, if I hear you correctly, if you have a community of people who would go ham and go crazy if they heard this conversation. I really do know some people, and I wish I could just pull them up right now. Like, hey, how do you feel? Because we will have this conversation, and it will be a very heated conversation. I mean, I hear what you're saying. If you have schizophrenia, if you have this and this and this, and I say, hey, it is a fact that you were diagnosed with this and you have these delusions of grandeur, blah, blah, blah. How is that offensive? But I think I don't know what it is, for some strange reason, when it comes to that community, you cannot.
Because they've decided that you can't, and we've all fell in line with that, right? But again, though, the same thing could happen if there was a black man or a black woman on the show saying, but I've always felt that I was white. I don't understand why you can't accept that. I've been white since I was 2. I just knew I was white. My skin tone's just wrong. I'm so white. We would all be looking like, this bitch is crazy. Like, that's literally the only response that we would have worldwide. White people would think she was nuts. Black people would think she was nuts. No one would say, well, it's offensive to say that that's a mental condition. That's a mental condition. If you were born black and you believe with your whole heart, or vice versa, if Kim Kardashian came out and said that she's always been a black woman at heart, who wouldn't be offended by that?
I have to. I'm going to give this when this show finishes and when it airs and everything. I definitely am going to tag those individuals online, because I promise you, we will be labeled transphobic. I've actually been called transphobic, and that's the thing. I don't believe I'm transphobic because I don't want to say, hey, I hate you. I don't hate you. I don't care what you're doing. Who cares?
No. You could become a woman, right? You had the surgeries and everything else. You became a woman, but understand you were born a man and you became a woman, or vice versa. Understand, that's all I'm saying, right? You were in fact born a man. You became a woman. I might have been, what did Popcorn Passport say? I might have been born poor. I became rich, right? It can happen. You don't have to be the same thing, right? My daughter will never be a cat. Let's be clear.
But it's not even. But it's not even this. If you let's just say you was on your break at lunch, right, guys? You're at your break at lunch and you're sitting down with me and it's conversation. I believe that we would be reported to HR and there would be a big issue compared to if you said, hey, I was born poor, but now I'm rich. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you're offending a community.
It's offending the poor community to say I'm no longer poor. I mean, it's offending the Black community to say that you're white because you think so. It offends the white community to say that you're Black if you're not Black. It's all offensive.
I don't know. For some strange reason, like I said, I wish there was somebody to answer that question. I don't know why the comments that we are hearing, the comments that we're saying would be so transphobic or so controversial.
You could even be born in a different country and be naturalized to become a citizen of, let's just say, America, right? You could be a naturalized citizen and now you're American, right? It's not that, no, you were born in Tunisia and you'll always be Tunisian. I can't accept that you're American now. You became something that you weren't at birth, right? But changing the fact, now you deciding to say, no, I'm American. I was born in America and I'm American as everybody. You are as American and it's everybody else. But the fact is you were born someplace else and you became this, right? If you're a big titty girl now, but you paid for those breasts, you were born flat chested, right? You were flat chested. You had surgery and now you're a big titty girl. Good for you, right? Like I don't have an issue with what you've become. I have an issue with the fact that you were never that to begin with. That's denial, which is a mental health crisis. That's denial. That's what it is.
Let's go to these comments because they won't stop flowing.
They are coming in. So, Humble Lion, I know he corrected himself. He said, all skin folk ain't kin folk. So,
that is true.
Right. So, let's see. He said, I think the term Black has become outdated. If you said you were Black in 1960, that generally meant that you came from Black American slaves. Nero said what he said to the skin folk comment. So Alexia Moore said it's body dysmorphia. Ooh. Ooh,
wow. Look, I gotta look that word up. Look that word up.
Let that one marinate.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So Cash said there are many diverse groups of melanated people in America now with unique backgrounds, and just calling everyone Black doesn't seem to capture our current diversity. Thank you, Cash. And so Nero said, unpacking colorism. Are we ready for that? Lots of intersectionalities there.
Yeah, that's going to be a whole nother conversation to be had, just because it's so in depth. It's so embedded in the fabric of our DNA, of African American culture. Colorism. Wow. That's a whole issue within itself.
So Humble Lion said the mechanics of the world in everyday life is set up, male and female. Remember the next time you go to use your phone charger, LOL. No comment. So freely commenting. Also for people who identify as other than their race. Having psychologist input, I believe, would help us to grasp the mental anatomy of why a person makes that choice. Hugs.
You know what? We'll go ahead and do that. We'll have somebody come on. I'll get somebody who has some type of background so they can kind of educate us on that. And like I said, and I do want to hopefully have somebody from that community come on as well.
Mm-hmm. Popcorn Passport said, I once dressed up as Superman. I couldn't fly though. Didn't try the bulletproof thing, so I'll just put my regular suit back on.
Oh,
So Humble Lion said, people are this close to saying God made a mistake, but that's not possible. So what does that say about them? Ooh, can I hold on? Let me pull a Kia.
Oh, yeah. That's
so Cash said, Obama has been held up to the world as a Black person that rose from slavery to the White House. Yes, he was Black, but that does not mean he has a legacy of slavery and poverty. Can you say that again, Cash? I mean, really. So, Lexia says it's because they are trying to make a mental health issue and make it a mental health issue and racial bias issue.
Yes, that is very true.
So, Freely Commenting says, we become offensive because, one, there was no permission given to say those things, especially in a personal conversation. Two, some of us are not ready for our own confusion to be verbalized. Commenting says, see, confusion doesn't want to be called out.
Guys.
So Freely Commenting, right, Alexia, dysmorphia. So Cash said Sage Steele is a grifter and seems to be trying to make her way to Fox News or whatever her next grift is. Hey, now listen, from Pornhub to ESPN, the girl's making moves now.
Whole other conversation.
Freely Commenting said Dr. Robin would be great for pods like this. Hugs.
Yes.
Getting Humble Lion said Obama is not a descendant of slaves. Let me repeat that for anybody that does not understand. He is not a descendant of slaves. Let's be clear.
No, he is not. No, he is not.
Can I say one more time? He's not. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm done.
Wait. Here.
Because I'm doing that right now. I'm talking about.
Oh God, you're gonna open up a whole.
Ooh. Nero said Obama is white. I feel like he just threw that in the middle of the ring.
Nero, you done opened up the whole can and was like, "Hey, you guys are gonna keep talking that talk." I need some great conversations to be had, but just to kind of segue to the end and let you know what I was doing this weekend. So I know that I thought to myself that it'd be so nice to talk about Halloween or scary stuff or whatever the case may be. And I'm not going to do a whole segment on it, but I just wanted to touch a little basis on it. I went to Salem, Massachusetts this weekend, and I definitely had a great time. And Salem, if you're not known, is known for its witch trials. The Salem witch trials were a series of hearings and persecutions of people accused of witchcraft in colonial Massachusetts between February 1692 and May 1693. More than 200 people were accused. 30 were found guilty, 19 of whom were executed by hanging, and one was pressed to death, meaning that they would lay you down naked and put rocks on top of you until your body and your organs popped out of your body. With that being said, I love history, guys. I am a history buff, and I will travel to those places trying to, I guess, find out and be some type of historian and all. But it's so interesting, which made me kind of cry during that time frame of me visiting this weekend, because innocent people died for false accusations, which is a crazy thing. I cannot believe that innocent people died and lost their lives. And that's exactly what happens now, because somebody accused somebody. Their justice system was tainted. Their justice system was polluted. They took on all types of ideologies. Hey, because she has too many men, she's a witch. Oh, but because he's outspoken, this is a witch. Go ahead, Liz.
So Q.
Mm-hmm.
So like Q.
Oh, yeah.
So the big lie.
Yeah.
Then everything proved.
And it's crazy. It's kind of like how history repeats itself, right? So in this day and age, when you say kind of like Q, it's like, wow. There was a question at one of the museums that I went to. It says, how do you stand up from injustice? Because at the end of the day, those people did not have anybody to speak for them. Those people had nobody to say, hey, this was wrong. So everybody had little comments that they were writing down. And my statement that I wrote is, even if you were the only person to make some type of whimper, some type of cry, some type of plea, you be the only person, the loudest person in the room. And even if you had to take that to your deathbed, you try, you fight your damnness to help, to support, to try to give your voice, to try to advocate on somebody's behalf when you know injustice is wrong and is staring you in the face. Go ahead.
So, and I so agree with what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
But also because you're also the person that talks about preservation of self. So in the time of the Salem witch trials, if you came to the defense of a witch, guess what? You were a witch too.
Yes.
So is it preservation of self then, or is it preservation of justice? Because you don't get crushed with the chick you were defending. So it's hard. I mean, it's hard. Matter of fact, not to be funny, but even look at what's going on in the Republican side of things right now. They know this shit's wrong, but they're going along with it. Why? Because of preservation of self. They have an election coming up, and it's easier to say the election's rigged if you lose than it is to stand up and say we voted, we lost. End of story. Like, they're going along with it because they're going with preservation of self as opposed to preservation of the integrity of the vote or preservation of justice. It's a lot of the times a matter of convenience and self-preservation.
And that can go, and the same thing can go into the conversation that we had in regards to, you know, the biasness within the LGBT community versus the African American civil rights struggle. There's just so many things that are happening that we need to speak up and try in your damnedest way to do something to advocate for the next person, even if it means that you going down with it like, hey, this has been a hell of a ride, but we're gonna do this shit together. we gonna do this together because at the end of the day, we're not letting you walk, you know, and that's all we have. We got a couple of comments, and then after we take these last comments, I know you had something to say, Liz, and then we'll end the show. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, wait.
Hey, cheers. So Humble Lion said that's a lot of wine.
I don't think it's just wine. It might be some.
That's straight up rum and coke. Let's do it.
Yeah, right. That's a cocktail. I know you, Liz.
Rum and coke. If you're gonna do it. And so Nero said, "Gotta go early. Talk to you guys later." Thank you.
We wrapping it up too.
We appreciate you. And so freely commenting, by the way, love to hear Kia and Liz. You look fab, nice makeup. I'm not into women. They just look fire. Thank you, freely commenting. Appreciate you.
Love you. Love you.
So Cash said, good point, Liz. If you are a white person, you could not just say, I'm setting my slaves free. There was social pressure for all to participate.
Very, very true. Very, very true. So I know right now, Liz, definitely you wanted to talk about what we mentioned in the beginning of the show, the breast cancer awareness.
Mm-hmm. So Breast Cancer Awareness Month, guys. It's there's not a lot of people out there anymore that haven't been touched by this or know someone that's been touched by it directly. So every October, and I meant to wear it today, I just didn't get to my laundry, I'm sorry. But we, like, every October for the last few years now, I've been working with HBC Outdoors. They've been guests on the show before as well. They sell a t-shirt that's not Grown Honest Concepts for once, but it's HBC Outdoors, and it's their breast cancer awareness shirt. It costs $12. It supports our immediate community. And anybody, if you're in the Central Florida area, if you know somebody personally that does not have insurance, but they need to have a mammogram, by all means, reach out to me directly. Kia knows how to get in touch with me. I can be found on social media, but not the most effective way, if I'm being honest. You can find the t-shirt on my website. It's grownhonestconcepts.com. Again, the shirt's $12. We help pay for mammograms, or I should say HBC helps to pay for mammograms. They help to pay for transportation to and from chemotherapy. If there's a family that's struggling as a result of a breast cancer diagnosis around the holidays, they try to do special things for the family, a couple other things. So it's $12. If you can, I'm asking you, please go to grownhonestconcepts.com, snag a shirt. They're adorable. I'll try to wear mine next week.
Yeah, it's for the whole month. Definitely put it on the we'll go ahead and put it on the Facebook page that we have here. And it was a great show, great commentary. I really appreciate you guys. Of course, we'll have something else next week with some more commentary. And then like I said, it's not per se Halloweenish. It was Halloweenish talking about Salem witch trials, just as a little bit of drop right there. But at the end of the day, we love you guys so much. Make sure you get a shirt at Grown Honest Concepts, especially for this month, because we're repping Save the Tatas. We gotta have them. But we love you guys. You guys are so awesome. Thank you for chiming in. And then here goes Humble Lion. Here we go.
Good live and good night, y'all.
Good night.
Good night. Much love.